Time right now is 3:01, 1 minute past the hour of 3 o'clock, and you're listening to WSCALP Portsmouth Community Radio. My name's Shawn Henderson. Name of the show is Stay Tuned. And I'm fortunate enough today to be joined live in the studio by Mr. Chris Smither himself. Hi, Chris.
Hey, Shawn.
All right. Glad you made it. And thanks for coming in.
You're welcome. Pleasure.
You have a brand new album out called $100 Valentine.
That's right.
Congratulations.
Oh, thanks.
It's fantastic, too, by the way.
Oh, I'm glad you enjoyed it. We liked it a lot.
Yeah.
We're really happy.
Yeah, you should be happy with it. I've never really been unhappy with a Chris Smither album, though. So, you know, that's saying something. But there's some songwriting on this album that I think is definitely your best work to date for sure. So my hat's off.
An old man loves to hear stuff like that.
Well, what I think we'll do, though, if you don't mind, is why don't we just start with something live, and then we can come back and chat about whatever you want to chat about.
All right. Well, here's $100 Valentine. Tell me why you're the moment you're gone. I can't see anymore. That sun is rising, but it just don't shine. There ain't no light through my door. I flip my switches, but I don't turn on. There ain't a flicker, baby, I got no juice today. I had a lighter in my carry-on, but the airline took it away. Well, it ain't just my sight that you stole. My heart's been missing a beat. My wheels are spinning, but they just don't roll. I'm standing dead on my feet. I can't go out, baby, I can't stay home. I'm crying showers, yeah, my mind's a hurricane. I called a taxi about an hour ago. I think he got lost in the rain. No mail today, my phone never rings. Nothing works when you're gone. My mind is humming, but my heart won't sing. Baby, can't you please come home? I got time on my hands, I got you on my mind. A heart that's beating like $100 Valentine. I know you told me you'd be home by 4, but I just can't take it no more. Oh, I know you told me you'd be home by 4, but I just can't take it no more. Yeah. What a crowd.
Nice, huh? It's nice to have a live in-studio audience at the radio here. Thank you very much. That was $100 Valentine, title track off of Chris's most recent release. Fantastic. His 12th studio release.
I guess that's right. I lose count.
Yeah? Well, we've been counting. And you've been putting out some good music.
Thank you.
I wanted to ask you about, well, let's just, since you started with the title track off of that, let's just focus on this album. And one of the things I wanted to ask you about is is the production on it. You've David Goodrich is a great producer. I love what he's. I got to know David through Peter Mulvey.
Through Peter Mulvey, right?
And
that's how I got to know him.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
And he's a great producer. And you this is like your 5th album with him.
That's right.
And you've been sticking with him.
Yeah.
And I'm just wondering what it is about David that kind of serves your music.
Well, after actually now these days the most important aspect of it is there's a certain level of intimate trust. You know that he trusts me to come up with songs that aren't going to embarrass him, and I trust him to come up with production that isn't going to be totally ways, right? Contrary to everything that I ever intended. But it's there's a sense that I had even from the very first time that we worked together that he had an understanding of what made my music worthwhile, that agreed with my own perception of it. I mean, I've had producers before who said, "Oh, this is great stuff," and it was obvious to me that they really liked the songs, but they liked them in a different way than I did. I mean, they just heard different things, and I needed somebody who heard the same sort of things that I did, whose view of it was in sync with mine, that so that you could be pretty sure that you were going to be happy with what came out. Both of you would be happy with what came out.
So when you first hooked up with him, was that something that you had an idea that he was gonna connect with you on that level? What was it that really kind of grabbed you and said, "This guy's gonna understand me"? Or was it? It wasn't until in the studio.
For one thing, actually, it was Peter Mulvey who said, you should get Goody to work on your stuff, and he would just do a really good job. And one of the things that impressed me was that he pointed out a couple of things that he didn't like about my other records,
really?
And they were things that I'd already
decided
I didn't like either. So, they were. Actually, the first time that we ever did a record together, he said, what I really want to do is, he said, I love these records, I love these songs. And that was for Train Home. I love these songs, just hearing them across your dining room table. You just sat there and you played them for me, and I like that. And I don't want to do anything that's going to make me lose that. So I said, okay, then now we're starting from ground one. We're on the same page, because basically they're completed pieces. Because I play solo all the time. I very rarely get out there with a band, and although nowadays it's really fun when I do.
I bet it is.
But I said, okay, that's a good place to start, and it really has worked out from there. Now we move fast forward, 10, 12 years now, to $100 Valentine, and he said, well, what do you hear on this? And I said, I hear what you hear. You just do it. I don't want to think about
That's total trust.
And and he lives through the songs. He lives through the, he gets in touch with me, 6 months before. He says, what do you got? And at that stage of the game, usually they're just little suggestions, really, He listens to him, and he's really there just to make sure I keep working on him.
Yeah.
So I get the sense that
so he's calling you and
somebody's waiting, somebody's watching.
Well, you've been pretty consistent in what you've been releasing over. I mean, since since Happier Blue, I guess, when you came back in '92. You've put out 10 albums since then, or around there, and
that's right.
So every other year you got an album out. That's pretty good. A lot of people can't say that. So
that's discipline. That's something new in my life. Marks a radical change.
Well, it's good for us, I tell you that. Well, I like that kind of discipline if this is what we're going to get. The name of the new album is called $100 Valentine. Excuse me. And just a brilliant album, too, by the way.
Thank you.
Time now is a little after 3 o'clock. Let's do another live thing, and then we come back, and I want to talk about a couple of the songs themselves, if you don't mind.
Okay. Well, here's something entirely different. This is called On the Edge.
That's a great song.
I just dropped by to say hello. feeling alright, how you feel might be just a little low. It's like you almost had a lot to say, but if you don't, I guess that's still okay. You can make up your mind just like you make up your bed every day. We're dancing on the edge of the stage. It won't be long before we fall. The dance is the thing, the fall just brings us the news that we don't get no curtain call. They got a clown down here wearing baggy clothes, big mustache, a bigger nose. He does what he does, it's easy because it's what he knows. He never needed a plan for life. He lives on that edge and it cuts like a knife through the funny bone of his own little slice of life. Funny ain't a joke to him. It's the heart and soul of all he'll be. From the small realize to the big surprise, it isn't funny till it happens to me. Oh yeah. Your spirits up, dream your dream. How's that working for you? I don't mean to put it down, but it sounds like it's bound to fall short in the long run. It's just the Holy Ghost and the Holy Grail. That ain't a lot to keep you out of jail. I would have thought what they taught you in school would have made you the strong one. Tell me, what about the here? And what about the now? Who's pitching for the great I am? Alright, maybe not so great, but it's never too late to take a stand. To say I'm here, I belong, I don't have to prove anything to anyone. And if I don't want to move, I don't have to. What's that say to you? I got my star clothes on, they're made of starry stuff. So am I, but that should be enough to tell you where I came from and where I'm going to tell you where I came from and where I'm going to.
Brilliant. Nice, very nice. Great song. On the Edge is the name of that song.
I should point out that Goody came over to my house one time, and he said, this was like probably a year before we started working on the record, and he says, I got something you might like. Listen to this. And he goes,
so that was him. That was the
yeah, he gets a half credit on the record. Yeah,
a half credit. That's a pretty good credit right there. It takes you all the way through. It's a great groove, and it's a great. It's a well written song. I love that song because it's, well, I don't know. I was going to say it's sort of the epitome of who you are as a songwriter, because you always seem to say certain things and then sort of change it as you go through the song, you know what I mean? So you start thinking, oh, this is what he's saying, then you go, no, that isn't what he's saying. And it all has a well, to me, I get a spiritual bent out of it. I mean,
yeah, it's definitely, it's all kind of Zen-like acceptance.
It's sort of Zen-like acceptance. That's good, because sometimes I get the the ambivalence,
right?
And but then I get, the sort of the striving for understanding or whatever. So I don't know. Maybe this is too deep of a question to ask in a 45-minute interview. But what is your philosophy on life? Is that
Well,
and
you know,
boy, that is a huge question, isn't it? Like, what the heck?
I'm not sure that I have a
You look good in
one.
blue, I should
I
say.
look good in blue,
Let's change it.
Well, no, that's a good. You look good in blue is a really good answer to the question. You know, it's the here, it's the now.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
it's the here and now. You know,
Mm-hmm.
the answer to everything is here, and when you get there, you'll find that that's the answer
Mm-hmm.
there too. You
Right
know?
on.
It's not a, you know. There's no grand plan,
Mm-hmm.
you know. It's just it should be enough that you're here now,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and that infuses almost everything that I do. You know
Is
that
that
concept,
be here, be now.
because
type of
the
thing.
rest of it'll just make you miserable.
Right. There was a line you did in another song, which was the riddle in the middle. Was that?
Oh yeah,
Um,
outside in.
And
outside in.
there was that line for someone that for some reason has always stuck with me, because that's sort of it. I mean, I was like, that's the meaning of life right there. It's the riddle in the middle. We're all trying to figure it out anyway.
Yeah.
You know, we're here, we're there, but it's all the stuff in the middle that we're trying to figure out. So anyway, that is a great song. The character of the clown in that.
Uh-huh.
I was wondering how that came to you, because I love that character, and I like one of my favorite lines is that funny's not a joke to him.
To him.
You know,
Yeah,
which is
right.
so cool.
Funny ain't a joke to him. It's the heart and soul of all he'll be. From the small realized to the big surprise. It isn't funny until it happens to me. But
Which is a great line. I mean, it's which you have so many of those in all your songs, but that one really stood out to me for some
oh,
reason.
thanks. It was those lines are the things that I feel like I work the hardest on, and yet if you ask me how you came up with it,
Mm-hmm.
I have no idea.
Really?
They just come. It's a.
So did that start with the sort of the theme of that, or did it start with the character of the
song
clown?
was one of the rare ones that was actually written in the order to which it it wound up. The first verse came first, and the second verse came second, and the third verse came third, and that almost never happens.
Right.
It's half the time the first verse that you write is actually the crux of the whole central thing, and then the rest of the song becomes a process of elaboration, to set it up and so forth. But that one actually got written in that order.
Do you remember where you were when it came to you? Or?
Oh yeah, I was sitting in my house in my work room. I don't really get lines outside. I come up with guitar parts and musical ideas in all kinds of situations. Sound checks are particularly fruitful for some reason, because you're sitting there noodling on things, trying to figure out why things don't sound right, and trying to make them sound right. But the lyric writing all happens in a designated room, for the most part. I sit down, and if it doesn't come, you sit and you wait,
So that's a craft that a lot of songwriters can't do. That is, I don't know if it's dedication or, practice.
You come to it. It's something that you come to.
Have you always been like that? Have you
no,
always? No,
not at all. It's something I had to learn to do. And eventually I had to learn that if I was going to depend on inspiration that came at any moment, then I was never going to get a song written. I never was. I mean, the art of the discipline is
discipline is
one
the
that
word
comes very hard to most artists of any sort. But everybody has to learn it if they're going to last. All painters, singers, I don't care who you are. You have to learn that. You got to go out. You got to sit down and try to do it.
Right.
And
Jack Hardy was a great. Jack, the late great Jack Hardy. He was great for that kind of discipline. He encouraged you to just sit down and do it. Set some side.
Say I'm not going to come out of the room
for
2 hours, and if you don't get anything in 2 hours, then that's 2 unproductive hours you've gotten out of the way.
There you go. That's 2 hours I won't have to waste again. All right, that's great. Was there a song on this album? What was the hardest song to write then? Was there a seed in a song that you just said, I need to have this written, but what was the hardest one?
Ooh, now I'm trying to think. I think probably what it might have been. Not in terms of the actual message of the song, which is fairly simple. It's one of I was very pleased with just how simple it came out. But the way to make the melody work, because there's a funny little turnaround, right? It sounds like a standard blues progression, and then it does this little gospel turn, comes back up to the 4-chord. And to make the line work there, it took me days to figure out how to phrase it, and how to sing it so that it sounded natural, but at the same time, kind of drew attention to the fact that there was this unusual aspect of it. It was a little balancing act. I remember being very, very pleased when I finally unknotted it.
Do you ever give up on songs like that? I mean, is there times
I put them off. I never give up on them.
But you never give up.
Off.
Okay.
Yeah, I say nope. It's not going to happen now.
Right.
It might not even happen for this record. You know.
Well, I guess that's part of the discipline. You can't fight it. It is the be here, be now. But you know, work with it as it's flowing, I suppose. Yeah. And encourage it to flow a little bit.
Be careful. I mean, any songwriter will tell you have to be careful about when to apply the pressure, because basically. And I've said this many times, writing songs is like having a conversation with a part of your brain that you're really not on speaking terms with at all. And it's very shy, you know, and it's really easy to frighten it, you know. So you have to let it have its say, and then sit there and try to puzzle out, okay, now what on earth is this creature driving at? You know, what? And then comes the light, the light, and you say, oh, I see. And then you can start applying some rational thought to it about how to organize this in a way that can be communicated, and at that point it's too late for it to back off. You know, that lizard part of your brain.
You've grabbed it. Good for you. I like that a lot, having that conversation with a part that you're no longer on speaking terms with.
Never were.
Never were, right. Do you want to do that song?
Sure.
Let's do that song live, and then we can come back and chat about whatever you want to chat about.
Things will be what they'll be in spite of me. Oh, you, even though it ain't what it is, it's such a sin. It's what it might have been.
Nice. What It Might Have Been is the name of that song. Chris Smither live in the WSCA studios. Absolutely fantastic. You can hear that song off his brand new album called $100 Valentine. His 12th studio release. It just came out in June, so it's fairly new. You can also pick up a copy of that at the show tonight. He's performing tonight up in Agunquit at Jonathan's. Jonathan's a fine venue up there in Agunquit. I encourage you to go if you like what you're hearing today. Smither.com if you want to learn more about Chris. And
More than you ever wanted.
More than you ever wanted to know. This is probably more than I ever wanted to know as I tend to ramble here as I get into these interviews. But I find the process of songwriting really fascinating. So that's why I do this show.
Me too. If I ever figure it out, I'll let you know.
That's why I talk to people like you. I wanted to. There's one song that I wanted to ask you about. All We Need to Know off your album. It was one of those songs. It was one of those songs that just grabbed me. Your whole album, the songs up till that point on the album, they're sort of I call them typical Chris Smither songs. They kind of get you, and you're listening, you're laughing, you're getting a little deeper. That song just kind of like is a punch to me, I think. And I just want to know, what you're. I'll play that at the end of the show off the album. But I just want to know. I wonder if you could just tell me about that song because it's such a brilliant song, in my opinion.
Thank you. I love it. Goody was talking about that one, and he says I just have this picture of this lonely guy standing on a cliff over this raging ocean, and the wind is howling, and I was amazed to hear that because it wasn't the picture that I have is of intergalactic gas clouds swirling and things like that. I mean, it's just this sort of the chaos but the organized chaos of the universe swirling around, and then trying to reduce that to something comprehensible or at least touchable. And it's
in a 4-minute song,
right. And part of what puts all that power into it is the string section. I've never used a string section on a record before, and if I'd had any notion of what kind of untapped power there was out there, I would have done it a long time ago. But it's it's
definitely powerfully produced for sure. And it's the strings and it's the that sort of bass.
The drumming in it. Well, it's Billy Conway.
And Billy Conway is absolutely fantastic. I love Billy.
He's amazing.
He is. Billy's a past live in studio. I guess used to be in Morphine and a bunch of other bands. Just a great drummer.
Yeah.
So did he bring that in? Is that that part of the drums, was that his idea to sort of do that, or?
Well, I'm sure.
I don't know if
that was his notion. I don't know how much. I try not to pay too much attention to what kind of conversation goes on between Goody and the drummer, whatever it is,
right.
And Billy. They're always on the same page. They don't seem to talk very much at all, But Billy's the kind of drummer that understands where the pocket is before you ever tell him, There might be 2 or 3 ways you could approach a song, and he's like Goody. He just approaches it from he knows what I mean. Even if I've forgotten, and he'll remind me. He'll say, no, you don't want that. It goes like this, and he'll be right. It's just.
Have you worked with him often, or?
No, actually, I've sort of worked with him over the years. I did a little demo record with him years and years ago. When he was, when Treat Her Right was his ongoing thing, and we just did that one little demo, and that wound up principally resulting in me playing a couple of softball games with him. But it was, the demo didn't go anywhere, and then we brought him in last year to do a little EP that I did of rock and roll songs that were all from the years that I was in high school. You know, Everly Brothers.
Oh, nice. I haven't heard that EP yet.
Oh, I'll bring you one. I got one in the car. I'll bring it to you later. We got Everly Brothers. We got Chuck Berry. We got a Hank Williams song. We got a Buddy Holly. We got a, you know.
Nice.
That's all. I mean, I date myself, but my high school years were 58 to 62, so you get an idea of what the music was like, and it was a lot of fun. And I was knocked out by his work on that, and just the way I felt working with it. I mean, we would do the songs live, just him and me, nobody else, you know.
Oh, cool.
And it was like a relief. I said, where have you been all my life?
Right.
You know?
Well, it's nice. I mean, you mentioned that of your high school days. I mean, you've been in the business a while.
Yeah.
You're sort of the elder statesman now of the genre. I'd say
One of them. There's a lot
one of them. You know. But it is. I mean, seriously. I mean, there's not many people that have the longevity that you have had. I mean, there's a few. I mean, that you've come up with, which is great. And I'm not sure where I was going with that, but it is. It's good to. I guess what I was about to say was it's good to still be able to be moved by someone new. You know, when people come into your life and you can go, oh, all right, great, this is great. You know, so the music is still moving and still moving you.
Got to make that effort to stay open to those.
Right
things,
on.
so
That's good. It seems like you do that for sure. What time is it here? It's a little after 3:30. We're live in the studio with Chris Smither. He's performing tonight up at Jonathan's in Agunquit. Fantastic place to see a show, so I encourage you to get on out there if you're liking what you're hearing here. His brand new album is called $100 Valentine. And I was talking earlier, I had some requests that I had for you. So I had this all written up. It was nice and neat. And you were like, well, let's not do that one. Let's not do this one. And this was my other list that I had written up. And so far, everything you've done on that has been on my other list that I didn't bring out. So you're doing okay. You're reading my mind. I like that. Let's do another song, and then we can. I got a few more things to chat about if you don't mind.
Remember thinking a long time ago, when I get big, I'll finally know what the hell is going on. I'll never have to show how dumb I am again. It's just a matter of time. You'd be feeling fine, gonna see the light. It will all fall into place. You won't have to chase your tail through every hoop inside. Yeah, you always see it coming. Somehow it's never really clear. 'Cause like the closest star by far, it's never really near. Just like the closest star by far, it's never near. They could have told you back in the day, it all comes to pass, it don't come to stay, but they left you to find your way through your life alone. How often in the past did you think it's here at last? Here's my cornerstone. You settle down to stay, but someone tells you, hey, this is a loading zone. There's never time to do it, but you gotta think it through again and get away. And now tomorrow's just your grand plan for yesterday. You know tomorrow it's never the same. It's just like riding a wave, and you ain't to blame. They never behave, it will be that way. Cradle to grave through your life and time. All you get is today. Try to see it that way. Don't hold on too tight. Loosen your shoes. Don't listen to news that keeps you up at night. Don't try to explain. Try not to complain. No one really cares. And don't try to find your place in line, 'cause it's everywhere. 'Cause you don't need to find your place in line, 'cause it's everywhere.
Loosen your shoes and don't watch the news. That's the some of the best advice we've gotten here on Stay Tuned, let me tell you that. We've been live in the studio with Chris Smither. Chris Smither's performing tonight up at in Gunquit at Jonathan's. I wanted to ask you a little bit more, if you don't mind. I wanted to ask you, when you came in, I was playing the Mother Truckers version of Love Me Like a Man. You were saying, this is a cover I haven't even heard before.
That's right.
And there's a few people out there that have done your songs. I mentioned Bonnie. Bonnie Raitt was obviously the the most well-known. She did that song, kind of made it famous, and made it her own, really.
Yeah.
And Diana Krall did that as well. And there's been other people that have done your songs. And I wanted to just I wanted to talk to you about how that feels to you. Not so much like when I'm sure it feels great when someone like Bonnie takes a song and makes it makes a lot of money with it.
Right. Oh, it never hurts.
That right. I imagine that's great. And but I was just wondering, when you hear someone else doing your song, how does that land on you? Do you?
Oh, it's one of the most gratifying things in the world. It just it's. In a sense, it's what you've been working for all this time. And I've said this before, but it's like raising a kid. You get this kid and he's your baby, and you teach her how to use a fork. You teach her everything. She doesn't know anything, and you tell them, okay, watch the lights, watch out for the cars, be careful, hold my hand when we cross the street, all this stuff. And that's your song. It's your child like that. And it doesn't exist without you. You're the one that sings it and plays it. And then somebody else records the song. And you look at it and you say, by God, she made it. She knows how to cross the street on her own, And if you're lucky, once in a while she sends a check home to Dad.
That's funny. Is there a particular song that you've enjoyed the most, as far as viscerally type of thing? When you hear it, you're like, oh, is there a certain cover that you really dig?
No, I mean the good ones are all. They're all. It's just exhilarating. It's very hard to explain.
Yeah, I'm sure.
I mean, I have heard little demos and stuff of people doing songs of mine that by any objective standard were miserable, wretched, and yet I still feel that same exhilaration that somebody wanted my kid.
Nice.
And it's, but most of the ones that people are aware of are Emmylou doing. What was the name of that song? I forget now. I can't think of the name of it. I can think of the tune, but
Slow Surprise.
Slow Surprise. That's the one. I just thought that was just I listen. I must have listened to it 15 times in a row.
She's amazing. Obviously, so that she's got that kind of haunting kind of thing going for her too. Which is amazing.
And I love Diana Krall's Diana Krall essentially took Bonnie's version and reworked it a little bit, you know. But I was really grateful for her. For one in particular, I'll tell you a funny story. She was, when that album came out, she was on Good Morning America or one of the morning shows, and she was playing, and I thought, well, maybe she'll play my song. She played a couple of songs, and no, it wasn't there, you know, and I said, oh, well, it's okay. But then the last 3 minutes of this, they said, well, Diana's got another song for us, and they looked over at her, whoever the host was, and looked at Diana at the piano and said, so I understand this is an old Bonnie Raitt song you're going to do. And Diana looked at her and said, no, this is a Chris Smithers song. And she said,
nice.
I could have kissed her. I just wanted to go. I just thought that was, oh, God.
That's great.
That was just wonderful. You know?
That's a good experience right there. And she does a great job of that song, too. And I almost played that one earlier, but I like the Mother Truckers version of that.
Yeah.
So. And Peter Mo, we mentioned Peter Mo, but he does a couple of different songs on his albums that are great. And you know, there's a few. I played Jen Adams. She did I Feel Fine.
Yeah. I feel the same.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I feel the same. Sorry.
Yeah.
I'm saying I feel fine. And anyway, she does a great job at that one too. I don't know if you've heard that one, but she's fantastic. Time right now is 3:43. And speaking of I feel the same. I was going to go back to I Feel Fine. There's two songs on this album that you covered that you brought back, and this is actually the first. One of the things that I really like about you is that you bring you cover a lot of people on every album you've ever done,
right?
And you covered yourself on this album twice,
right?
And I was just wondering why you didn't. Why that? Why bring your own stuff back and not bring?
Well, there's songs that I
else?
hardly ever do anymore.
Oh, yeah.
You know, Goody was saying. Goody was the one who had the idea. You know, I had finished. I had a good pocket full of songs, you know, for the record, and I was looking around for things to cover. And he said, "Why don't you cover yourself?" And I said, "Meaning what?" You know? And he said, "Well, he says you got all these songs, you know, that nobody's heard you do them in ages, you know." And
how was it coming back to those songs since you haven't done them in a while?
Oh, I was really pleased to do it.
Was there a different feel for it? Did you have a different relationship to them?
Yeah. Well, you know, both of them were written when I was considerably younger, you know, and I brought an older person's, you know, both of them got a little more resigned. You know, and as opposed to, and it's like listening to old Dylan versus new Dylan. You know, Dylan when he was young and angry, versus Dylan now. You know, when he's whatever he is.
Exactly.
I mean, I hesitate to define him, but you know, going back to those songs, you know, I was in the first place really pleased to see that they held up. Right. You know,
and they definitely held up.
But they were also, you know, they lent themselves to a generational shift, shall we say?
Right on. And I love both of them. And I feel the same as just the way you do that is, again, that's an emotional song as well for me.
Yeah, it is.
Well, time right now is about quarter of. We have time for another live thing if you want to do it, or I can just play something off the album.
Let's listen to that the one the galactic gas clouds.
The galactic gas cloud. We will do that. How's that? Well, I gotta say, I can't thank you enough for coming in today.
Oh, you're welcome,
I really appreciate your time. Tonight, anyone that wants to go see Chris, he's playing up at Jonathan's in Algonquin. And I do want to thank Steve, my camera guy, for coming in, and I do want to thank you at home for watching and you at home for listening. The song that we were talking about, if I can set it up here on the CD player. The song that we were talking about that I said hit me so hard off the new album $100 Valentine is a song called All We Need to Know, and you can tell me what you think about it. How's that? Brilliant song in my opinion. So thanks again for Chris and everyone else here. I'll leave you with this song. The name of the song is called All We Need to Know, and again, it's off $100 Valentine.
Yes, there ain't no
That was awesome, guys. Holy crap.